I still get a lump in my throat when I think about what I witnessed that day. It was the grand opening of the Ruth Daniels Civil Rights Museum in Montgomery, Alabama. My niece had just finished a school project on the civil rights movement, and I thought there would be no better way to bring those lessons to life than to take her to this celebration. We arrived early. The crowd was buzzing. Local news reporters were setting up their cameras. People were dressed up, wearing T-shirts with Ruth Daniels' face on them, some holding homemade signs that said, "Thank you, Ruth," or "Still marching." You could feel it. This was more than a museum opening. It was a tribute, a long overdue recognition of a woman who had dedicated her life to justice. Ruth Daniels was a living legend. She wasn't a name from a textbook. She was a woman who marched in Selma, stood on the front lines in Birmingham, organized protests, fed children during the bus boycotts, and was jailed more times than anyone cared to count. Not for breaking the law, but for refusing to bow down to injustice. She didn't scream. She didn't carry weapons. But her words? Her words moved mountains. I was standing near the entrance when she arrived. She came with no entourage, no fanfare. Just her and a young assistant pushing her wheelchair. She was older now, must have been in her 80s, but she held herself with the same dignity I'd seen in old black and white photos. She wore a deep blue dress, a matching hat with a tiny feather on the side, and white gloves. She looked beautiful, elegant in that quiet Southern way. Her presence was so powerful that people started to go silent, just watching her roll up. And then came the moment that shocked us all. A security guard stepped forward and stopped her. "I'm sorry, ma'am," he said, trying to be polite. "This event is for invited guests only. Do you have your pass?" Ruth smiled kindly. "No, baby, I don't have a pass. I'm Ruth Daniels." He paused. "Yes, ma'am, I know the museum's named after her, but I still need to see a pass for today." He didn't know. He didn't realize she was the very woman the entire museum was built to honor. She didn't raise her voice. She just looked down for a moment and said softly, "I was invited. I helped build this. Not just this building, but the reason it stands." People around us began to realize what was happening. Someone gasped, "Wait, is that her?" And in seconds, the energy shifted. More and more people gathered. Some began to murmur, others grew angry. A younger woman stepped forward and said, "You're really going to stop Ruth Daniels from entering a museum dedicated to her?" The crowd started chanting, "Let her in! Let her in!" The security guard looked nervous. He stepped aside to radio someone. But before anyone answered, a man in a suit, a museum official I assumed, came rushing out the doors. His face went pale when he saw Ruth sitting there. "Ms. Daniels, oh my God. I am so sorry. Please forgive this misunderstanding. Come. Inside, please. Right this way." But Ruth didn't move. She looked up at him, calm and steady, and said something I'll never forget. "You built a museum in my name," she said, "but didn't recognize me at the door. That tells me the fight's not over." That moment, it hit like a punch to the chest. She wasn't angry. She didn't curse. But the truth in her words made everyone freeze. The man begged again. Eventually, Ruth agreed to come inside, but not before the media caught wind of what happened. Someone filmed the whole thing on their phone. Within hours, it was all over social media. By the next day, it was on the local news, and then national headlines. The museum released a public apology later that evening. They called it a deep and unfortunate mistake, and promised to improve their internal processes to make sure something like that would never happen again. The security guard was let go on the spot. It was a decision that sparked debate. Some people said it wasn't really his fault. He was young, probably hired just for the event, and clearly didn't grow up learning this history the way we did. Maybe no one ever taught him what Ruth Daniels looked like. Maybe he just didn't know. But others pushed back. They said that was exactly the problem. How can we build monuments, hang banners, write speeches, and dedicate buildings to heroes if we can't even recognize them when they're standing right in front of us? How can we say we're honoring history when we treat the living witnesses to that history like strangers? What does it say about us when the very people who carried us forward are pushed aside in moments meant to celebrate them? It was deeper than a mistake. It was a mirror. And we were all being asked to take a hard look at ourselves. As we stood, there outside the museum, the mood had shifted. What began as a day of celebration had turned into something heavier, but maybe something more real, more honest. I looked down and saw my niece holding my hand tighter than before. Her little brows were furrowed. She was only 10, but kids feel these things. She tugged on my sleeve and asked quietly, "Why didn't they let her in?" I knelt down beside her, searching for the right words, ones she could understand, but that still carried the weight of what just happened. "Because sometimes," I said slowly, "even the people who make history get forgotten by the world. They helped shape." She stared at me, confused. So I kept going. That's why we tell the stories. That's why we speak their names, over and over again. So no one forgets. So you don't forget. Because remembering isn't just about facts or dates. It's about respect. It's about seeing people, really seeing them, for who they are and what they've done. She nodded, still thinking. I could see something shift in her, something deeper than understanding. Maybe it was the first spark of purpose. And that's what Ruth did, just by showing up. She didn't have to give a speech or raise a sign that day. She didn't have to lead a march or chant a slogan. All she had to do was be there, living proof of a history too many people are still trying to forget. And in doing that, she reminded all of us that the fight for dignity, for memory, for truth, is never over. Not even when the museum doors are wide open, because sometimes the most powerful protest is presence. And Ruth Daniels? She made sure we remembered that. Thank you for watching. I truly appreciate you taking the time to check out this video. It means the world to me. If you enjoyed it, here's how you can help support the channel and make sure you never miss out on future content. Subscribe and hit the bell icon. Stay updated with my latest uploads so you don't miss a thing. Every subscriber helps this channel grow. Drop a like. If this video helped, entertained, or inspired you, let me know with a thumbs up. It boosts the video's reach and tells YouTube you enjoyed it. Leave a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What was your favorite part? Any suggestions for future videos? Let's chat in the comments. I read every single one. Share with a friend. Know someone who'd love this? Share it with them. Spreading the word helps more people discover this content. Your support is what keeps this channel going, and I'm so grateful for every like, comment, and share. Thank you for being part of this amazing community. See you in the next video.